Getting caught in a bad deal is one of the worst feelings you can have as a real estate investor. Whether you're flipping, buying rental properties, or even wholesaling, you're gonna get into a deal, and after you buy it and are working on it, you realize it's not a good deal. So how do you know when to pull the plug and call it quits or keep persevering through the deal? My name is Sam Prim, and I own over $42 million worth of real estate that I bought without using any of my own money, and my goal is to give you the foundational building blocks to start your real estate investing career. So what does a bad deal look like? A bad deal can look like a lot of different things. What goes here? A bad deal can mean you're losing money, obviously. A bad deal can mean you're losing time. A bad deal can mean you wasted time. A bad deal can even look like you not making as much money as you could have. I've lost money on a lot of different deals, but the most recent was when I was analyzing the deal and looking at the numbers to purchase it before I bought it. I looked at the ARV of the property and thought that it was too high, meaning I thought that after the property was fixed up, it was gonna be worth $350,000. So I bought the property with that in mind. But after we closed on the property, got it repaired, got it fixed up, the after repair value was actually more like $325,000. So that was $25,000 that I assumed I was gonna make that I didn't make. As you know, I'm the guy that talks about owning $42 million worth of real estate rental properties, but I also wholesale and fix and flip. I have a fix and flip company in St. Louis that fix and flips anywhere from 25 to 75 properties a year. So we do this on a regular basis, and we run into bad deals, and we have to make the decisions of when to pull the plug or not, or what to do, because unfortunately, all deals are not linear. They are not all the same. Every single deal goes in different directions. So when you're fixing and flipping, there are three main things to look at, and if one of these goes off kilter, then it might be time to pull the plug. The first, as I mentioned earlier, is ARV. You're looking at the after repair value of a property once you buy it, and then you're fixing it up to try to get it to that value. Now that value can change because the market shifts, or you could have been wrong on that value like I was at the beginning. But that is something to keep an eye on. Look at your after repair value before you buy the property, and also while you're fixing it up. You do not want to get caught at the very end of the project and the ARV had shifted 10, 15, 20% and you're losing money. There are things that you can do before that to help mitigate that. I'm gonna talk about in a minute. The second thing that you have to keep eye on when you're doing a fix and flip is the repair costs. Nobody ever is right on their actual repair value. I don't think we've ever been right on a rehab cost. Now we usually are close, maybe 5 to 10% over, occasionally a few percent under, but this is something to keep an eye on because rehabs can get out of control quickly. So keep an eye on your contractor's time, keep an eye on your time, keep an eye on material costs, and make sure you are continually tracking these things as the project progresses. The last factor you're going to want to consider before, during, and after your project is the market. Now this kind of goes along with the ARV, but you have to keep an eye on the market to know what the market is doing. In the past few years, from maybe 2018 to 2022, the market was skyrocketing. So I know a lot of people that overpaid, over-rehabbed, and still made a ton of money because the market was so hot. Unfortunately, we are not in those times anymore, so you need to keep an eye on the market to make sure it's not shifting too much too quickly. So when do you pull the plug on a project like this and decide to not move forward with the rehab? Now this is pretty rare probably, but there are things you can do. And when you decide to make that call is when it looks like you are going to lose a ton of money, and another option you can go down will help you break even or lose less money. Now your options are to keep it as a rental property. If you're rehabbing it and something happened along the way, any of these three things that decided that it's not gonna be a good deal, look at the property through the lens of a rental property. If you can get market rent, and if you rehab it, will you still be able to cash flow or at least break even for a little while? Can you turn it into a short-term rental? So think of a potential different exit strategy. The other exit strategy would be wholesaling. Can you just get rid of it now? Are you not in too deep to somebody else that has more experience, that can get more out of the project? Can you sell it to them for what you have in it so you're at least breaking even? Or your other option, if you don't have either of those, is to just get it done as quickly as possible. Now, I'm not telling you to cut corners, but I am telling you, if you're gonna lose money, get it lost now. And if the market is shifting, get it out now, because who knows what the market's really gonna do. So maybe don't go that extra mile on every little thing. You don't have to maybe get 8-panel doors, or you maybe don't have to get marble countertop that's 6 weeks out before it gets there. Maybe you don't have to get soft close cabinets that are another 4 weeks. So just get through it as quickly as possible and pull off the Band-Aid as quickly as possible if you cannot wholesale it or turn it into a rental. So now let's say you're getting into a rental property and you don't know what to do because, like I showed you earlier, you are going to maybe lose money or not able to refinance out of that property if you're going through the BRRRR method. Now, if you're looking ahead at a property and you realize that it's not gonna cash flow for whatever reason, probably because you're repairing it too much, or the repair costs more than you thought it would, or the rent's not maybe quite as high as you thought it would. So those two factors are going to be maybe a reason to pull the plug. Now, there are a couple different options if you get to that point. The first option is to change the end game of the rental property. You can turn it into an STR or an MTR. I know my writing sucks. It is what it is. So if you're renting that property on a long-term basis, it will probably rent, for just an example, for maybe $1,500 a month. But if you turn it into a short-term rental, which means an Airbnb or VRBO, now obviously the property has to be in somewhat of a desirable location, but that property is probably going to rent for several $100s a night. So that might turn that $1,500 of income into $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of income. Now there's more expenses that go into that. Of course, you have to furnish the property. It costs more to manage it, but that is an option. Or you can do the midterm rental route, which I've done a decent amount recently. This is for traveling nurses or people that are having to stay somewhere for 3 to 4 months. So it's kind of that midterm rental, and you can get a little more per month for that because it's usually, the nurse's company paying for that, the nurse's travel company, or even like a corporate lease for somebody that, an executive or somebody that has to live somewhere for a short period of time. They usually pay a premium for that because that 12-month lease is usually the minimal amount you'll get for a rental property. As you shorten that time, the price also goes up. Then your other option, and probably the more common option, would be to just sell the property. You bought it at a discount, hopefully, and you're repairing it, and maybe you're not able to get all your money out, like I mentioned earlier. Maybe it's not gonna cash flow, but if you bought it at a discount and rehabbed it property, there should be some equity in there that allows you to make money or break even. For example, if you buy a property for $100,000 and you thought you were gonna put $50,000 into it and you thought it was gonna be worth $200,000 and you were gonna keep it as a rental, but the rehab went over budget by maybe 20, 30 grand, so you're all in the property $180,000. That's a lot more a month in mortgage payment, and it might not cash flow because of that. However, if you bought it right and it's still worth 200, you owe 180 on it, you can sell it, and with realtor fees, you'll probably make a few $1,000s. So that is another option to just change your exit strategy. Again, if you haven't seen, that's the beauty about real estate, is you're able to change your exit strategies and control the investment along the way and make these smart decisions as you see a potential downfall around the corner, unlike most investments where somebody else is controlling it. And your third and final issue that you might run into with a type of investment is wholesaling. Now, there is a way to get ahead of this that I want to start this off with a bang, and that is a contingency. I did not spell that right, but that's okay. A contingency is a clause in the contract that allows you to not close on that property. This should be your main strategy if you want to be able to pull the plug and not lose any money. When you're getting a property under contract as a wholesale deal, you're talking to the home seller and they are signing the contract saying, I will sell you this property for this amount on this date. Now, all real estate contracts have this in there. For the most part, if you live in your personal house and you bought your personal house, or maybe your parents bought their personal house, in that contract, it said that you are able to not close on that contract if the bank says no, meaning a financial contingency, and also an inspection contingency. You're not an expert, your parents aren't an expert, they're not gonna climb in the attic and go on the roof. So you're allowed to have someone inspect those items, and if there's a major issue with those, you're able to renegotiate or not even close on that contract. So a similar mindset here, where you're going to have a contingency in this property. Now, tell the home seller that it's in there. You can tell them it's an inspection contingency, financial contingency, you have to get a partner in there, whatever it is, let them know that there's a small chance that you will not close on that deal. So in those 10 to 14 days, shop the heck out of the property, get people in there, and make sure you have it for under contract to sell for more than you have it under contract to buy from them. That's what wholesaling is, making a spread on what you can buy it for and what you can sell it for. And if you do it the right way, you never have to have any risk, because if you can't sell it for more than you bought it for, you're gonna back out of that contract. So that is the number one way to do it. The other way is to, kind of similar to what I talked about earlier, go down either of those two exit strategies. If you have to close on it and you can't wholesale it because there's not a big enough margin, maybe you do all the work yourself on the fix and flip, or you do as much of it as you can so that you can at least sell it for a little bit more than you bought it and fix it up for. Likewise with a rental property, maybe you can turn it into a rental property and leave a little bit of money in the deal and it will still cash flow. So just again, to reiterate, having those multiple different strategies and being able to allow you to make that decision at the right time once you see around the corner that there might be an issue is a beautiful thing to do with real estate investing. Now you can do all the things I talked about in this video and still make mistakes, and honestly, you probably will still make mistakes. But what you can do to protect your business, and more importantly, protect your personal assets, is make sure to do this all in an LLC. Owning real estate, whether you're wholesaling, fixing and flipping, or buying rental properties through an LLC, is a great way to protect the business and the business assets, but also it's going to protect your personal assets like your house and your car. So if you do screw up or something bad happens, they cannot go after your personal assets. If you need help setting that up, click on the description below and go to Prime Corp Services. They set up all my LLCs. They do an incredible job for incredibly cheap. Like, they're literally the cheapest option I've seen, and they walk you through the entire process. In fact, we give you a 45-minute free consult call with them that you can simply ask them questions about the LLC, how to set it up and where to set it up. They make it extremely easy. At the end of the day, you're the only one that knows when it's right to pull the plug on a bad deal. However, if you have questions on what's going on, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I will gladly give you my opinion.